of the NBA. Michael Jordan comes in, I believe, 5 years later, and then the NBA takes off. Maybe, just maybe, this could actually happen now for the WNBA. Caitlin Clark has now hit the scene. Things are changing for the WNBA. Will the WNBA actually rise up? I don't know. The WNBA up to this point has never made a profit in 26?
Caitlin Clark went number 1 overall to the Indiana Fever in the 1BA draft, a result that surprised nobody. What followed, though, sparked a fresh round of debate, this time with Russell Wilson at the center of it. The broader question hanging over all of this is whether Clark's arrival can do for the 1BA what transformative figures did for the NBA decades ago. The NBA in the 1970s was barely functioning as a business.
26, 27 seasons. I mean, every single team loses money. Yeah. Nobody cares about the WNBA. But people do watch women's college basketball. I mean, it was historic what happened this past season. But now Caitlin Clark is actually going to the WNBA. Will people actually tune in so WNBA players can actually make some money? Now,
every franchise loses money. The NBA essentially keeps the whole thing afloat through direct financial support, which means any structural changes to player salaries or league economics have to be approved by NBA ownership. The WNBA has never been able to stand independently, and nothing about the current setup changes that overnight.
WNBA players can actually make some money. Now, people are pretty shocked on the amount of money that Caitlin Clark will actually make in WNBA. Yeah, she's not making a whole bunch of money, at least for an athlete. Now, for the average person, she's doing quite well. I believe she's actually going to make something like $75,000 this first season. And I believe there's minor increases over 4 years. There's no money in the WNBA. But maybe
Clark's rookie contract reflects that reality. Her deal runs 4 years and totals roughly $338,500, starting around $76,000 in year 1, with modest bumps each season that still fall short of 6 figures by the 4th year. For context, the highest paid players in the league earn somewhere around $230,000 to $250,000 annually.
There's no money in the WNBA. But maybe Caitlin Clark is that person that can actually change it. She's going to need some help. Now, Angel Reese, I believe she actually went number 7 in the WNBA draft. So maybe they can actually have that type of a rivalry to actually get people to tune in and change the fortunes of the WNBA. But the WNBA is just way too woke right now, man. They got a lot of work to do. Well, Russell Wilson.
Many players close the gap by heading overseas during the offseason, where deals can reach into the millions. Brittany Griner, for example, was pulling over $1 million a year from a Russian club before her detainment made global headlines. The financial incentive to go abroad has always been real for players who lack domestic endorsement value.
Russell Wilson, quarterback in the NFL, decided it was a good idea to actually virtue signal for the WNBA. I guess when he actually found out how much Caitlin Clark would actually be making. And it did not go well for Russell Wilson. Let's get into it, guys. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, become a channel member. Member live stream every single Friday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Clark is a different case entirely. Her NIL earnings coming out of college were already sitting at roughly $3.1 million. Deals with Gatorade and others that put her income in a category well above the entire WNBA roster when marketing dollars are factored in. She does not need an overseas contract.
Stream every single Friday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We appreciate the support. So here we go. Check this out. Russell Wilson takes to Twitter to pray for Caitlin Clark and WNBA players to earn more, promptly gets roasted. In order to actually get paid more money, you actually have to make money. Now, the only reason why The players can actually get paid, to 75,000. I believe the top players, something like.
Her market value off the court already exceeds what the league itself can offer on it. That is not a knock on the other players so much as an honest accounting of why certain athletes attract outside money and others do not. Marketability is not evenly distributed, and the WNBA has historically struggled to develop it at scale.
Why the players can actually get paid, to 75,000. I believe the top players, something like 230, 250, something like that, is because the NBA actually subsidizes the WNBA. So any changes with the WNBA actually has to go through the NBA owners. Yeah. The WNBA cannot stand on its own, never has, but will it? I don't know. But Russell Wilson decided, hey, let me go out there and virtue signal. He put this.
Russell Wilson stepped into this conversation on social media, posting that WNBA players deserve significantly more and that he was praying for better days ahead. The response was swift and largely unsympathetic. Replies questioned how many season tickets he holds, whether he has ever actually attended a game, and why, if he feels strongly, he does not put his own money toward the cause.
Decided, hey, let me go out there and virtue signal. He put this out right here. He posted on it, these ladies deserve so much more, praying for the day. Because we can actually see here the breakdown of Caitlin Clark's contract. It's going to be 4 years, $338,000, and actually $338,056. I don't want to shortchange her there. And she's going to make a little over $76,500.
One response suggested he simply write a $35 million check into the league. Another pointed out the fundamental economic reality: you cannot increase salaries in a business that does not generate revenue. The criticism was not necessarily that the sentiment was wrong, but that posting about it online costs nothing and changes nothing.
Some of those posts about Tom Brady was pretty funny. Okay, I do have a sense of humor. I really, really do. But Antonio Brown really wants people to think that he actually has CTE. Everybody knows that Vontaze Burfict hit. A lot of people say he ain't been right since then. But still, you cannot diagnose CTE unless the person is already dead. Okay? Last time I checked, Antonio Brown is still alive.
Angel Reese landing at number 7 in the same draft does raise an interesting possibility. A Clark-Reese rivalry at the professional level, carrying over the intensity of their college matchups, could be exactly the kind of recurring storyline that pulls in casual viewers. Whether that translates to consistent attendance at games not involving the Fever, or whether road arenas see any lift at all, remains to be answered.
Is still alive. Now, I believe that Antonio Brown does things for clicks. I really do. I think he wants attention. And Antonio Brown, right now, every time we make a video on him, it's not about football. I mean, that ship is sailed, man. Antonio Brown is not going back to the NFL. Antonio Brown is not going to the Hall of Fame. Maybe a few more good seasons, he could have been in the Hall of Fame. Now we know that
former NFL wide receiver Antonio Brown has drawn widespread criticism after a series of posts directed at Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever guard, and arguably the most prominent name in women's sports at the moment. The situation culminated in Clark blocking Brown on social media, a move that prompted him to respond with a racially charged comment. Brown's behavior on social media has been a recurring story since his abrupt exit from a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game in 2022, after which his online activity became increasingly erratic.
Maybe a few more good seasons, he could have been in the Hall of Fame. Now we know that Antonio Brown was a really, really good receiver. He was. But Antonio Brown is a sideshow. The man is a clown at this point. Nothing more. That actually brings us to Caitlin Clark. Probably the biggest name in women's sports right now. I think that's the case. I don't even really think it's close, to tell you the truth. I mean, we have made quite a few Caitlin Clark videos. Even Rose is making some over there on the other sports.
Shortly after, Brown publicly announced that Clark had blocked his account then responded to the block by using a racial slur in a post referencing her. Public reaction was largely unsympathetic toward Brown. Responses across social media reflected the view that the block was a reasonable and justified response, with many noting that his pattern of targeting people with offensive posts had become tiresome.
Art videos, even Rhodes is making some over there on the other sports channel. Well, Antonio Brown thought it was a good idea now to attack Caitlin Clark. Now, I believe a few weeks back, he took a shot at her, I guess somewhat in a sexual manner. Yeah, I didn't like that post. I wouldn't have posted anything like that. And I believe Antonio Brown was actually getting attacked for that too. Well, it seems like Caitlin Clark has had enough of Antonio.
The racial language drew particular condemnation, though observers also noted it was consistent with a type of post Brown has directed at others before. Clark has not publicly commented on the situation. She continues to be one of the most talked about athletes in the country heading into the WNBA season, a status that has made her a frequent subject of commentary, and, in this case, a target for provocation, from figures well outside the world of basketball.
Caitlin Clark has had enough of Antonio Brown. So let's get into it, guys. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, become a channel member. Remember, live stream every single Friday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We appreciate the support. So here we go. Look at this here. Antonio Brown claims Caitlin Clark blocked him after wildly offensive tweet. Yes, and we actually going to go over the tweet. And Caitlin Clark doesn't want to have anything to do with Antonio Clown anymore. Antonio Clown, also known as Antonio Brown, he's only good for I guess shocking posts and things like that. I don't know what he's actually up to these days. I mean, this man is so bizarre, man. Remember, he actually posted, I believe, on Snapchat like over a year ago, his manhood out there. With his manhood out there with his girl, or his ex-girl. Yeah, giving him some action. He did that. That was a bit story, man. So everything Antonio Brown does is for clicks and attention. Nothing more. Okay? Well, it says here, Caitlin Clark might not be a fan of Antonio Brown. Clark continues to take the sports world by storm after a dominant career at Iowa prior to being the top pick in the WNBA draft. The talented guard is definitely the league's greatest hope, and she's caught the attention of Antonio Brown for all the wrong reasons. The former NFL player turned wannabe rapper has been tweeting about Clark a lot, and that includes physical comparisons to Mel Gibson. At the very least, AB seems to understand how to play the trending topics game on social media. I mean, what else